Yes, Ruto, the powers have been withdrawn from him by the executive, chief executive, who is the president. So he can do very little in terms of implementing all these ideas he has. It's very unfortunate for a member of parliament like me to say this. To get some of these policies and regulations through parliament so that they can impact on mwananchi, it's very frustrating. I'm a first-time MP. I have been very frustrated trying to push through very important policies, very important motions through so that they can impact on mwananchi. And you find you do your 5 years even before the process goes halfway. So also something has to be done to parliament. Most of the MPs are living a lie. You know, you are out there, you are in parliament, you are sent by people, very old people who cannot come to parliament, and you are there and you can do very little.
Okay.
Just tell me one MP who was taken through a bill which has impacted on mwananchi these 5 years, the way Mutudo had the illicit, the brew thing, the Mutudo laws. So there is a challenge there. Lastly is the bottom up and what is happening today. Today we have all these funds: Uwezo Fund, Youth Fund, Women Fund. The other day the whole thing was consolidated. But for any young man to get out there and they decide in the next 1-2 weeks, I would want 100,000 from Uwezo Fund or from Youth Fund, it's impossible. They will not access the money. So what we are looking at, reason they can't access the money, because the application form has to be brought all the way to Nairobi for approval. The money is here in Nairobi. So when we say bottom up, we are looking at the approvals not coming from Nairobi. The money not being kept in an account being controlled by somebody in Nairobi. We are looking at the account that is holding the money to go to the ward, closer to the market, and the approval to be signed by someone who is at the village, who is down there in the world. And lastly, comparing this model of empowering by people borrowing, providing the capital and people borrowing and the refunding with some interest, and now giving 6,000 shillings per family, which is non-refundable. You know, when you give out non-refundable money, yes, somebody has to be overtaxed for that to continue. But if you give out money that is going to be refunded with some interest, it means actually you are going to grow the tax base. You know, you will get more people having money, and by the end of the day, they are also paying some interest, and also they go ahead and pay taxes on the small businesses they are doing. So the better way, and we are very happy today, we are discussing politics of economics, not politics of who hates who and who hates who and who loves who and who tialala and TB, which you don't know what it means.
Okay.
We are talking about economics. So we can't go the 6,000 way for free, because that is money which is lost. That money has gone. It will never come back. But this fund which is provided at the very local village, and when you have access to the money, if you want it in 2 days, you can get your 3,000, go do your business on this market day, and that refund back the 3,000 with 3,200, then you've also paid taxes. Okay. Now the money is actually sufficient for itself. The kitty will keep itself rolling. You will not need to tax more people. Actually, you will get more money from the kitty. And my friend, look at very simple things. People, Kenyans would want to work. Kenyans don't want free money. 6,000 is not enough.
Okay.
But if I go to capital, if you ask another person out there in our country, their challenge is capital. Anyone who wants to do a side hustle, the challenge is capital. So why not provide the people capital with a policy that is not so difficult for people to access the capital? And the only way is do the bottom-up approach.
Okay, well noted, Mbai. I think your point is definitely across. And Kioko, as you come in as well, I was just listening to some of the promises during the earlier clips we were playing as we're listening to the stories, the OCA principles promising to end corruption and give free secondary education. But one of the principals talked about cutting taxes by 50% and equally giving free secondary education. And perhaps it begs the question how these promises will be implemented, not just the face value of them. Yeah?
Yep. I think the biggest problem is there's this conversation happening of distribution. This is just distribution economics. After money has been generated, after the economy has grown, then we'll give 2,000 shillings to each family, what is currently the Jubilee government tried giving the 65 and above 2,000, the indigents, poor of the poor. Then Raila's proposition of 6,000 again is dishing out, redistributive. After that we will reduce secondary payments, tuition payment or free secondary education. Again, that is removing. The fundamental question is, how do you generate adequate revenues to meet these policy directives or these lofty ideas that you all have? The contradiction of what Oka is saying, that they are going to reduce taxes by 50%, that is a big hole in itself, and then you still give free education at secondary level. Where is the money to fund that free education, really? So the question that all of us and all Kenyans of meaningful thought must ask, how are we going to generate enough resources, enough revenues in order to fund these good ideas that we are talking about? Today, the biggest threat that has been quantified by a sitting president is that Kenya loses 2 billion shillings a day to corruption. Cumulatively, that's a big chunk of money that is lost. So for you to do these ideas that we are talking about, the fight against corruption must be real so that you stop wastage, you stop duplication, and you stop the thuggery within our economic system. That way you increase the base of money that is available. Secondly, and people seem to be running away from it, is the question of public debt. Today, for every 100 shillings that is generated, 45 for every 100 shillings that is generated, 45 shillings goes to paying debt. How do you deal with that question of 45 shillings vis-a-vis 100 bob? Yet you are increasing expectations of people. Which you're talking about creating an extra 150 billion fund to empower locals. So unless you address the issue of corruption, wastage and duplication of resources in government, plus the question of public debt, how are you going to address the question of public debt? And thirdly is access to credit. When the government is competing with us, local mwananchi, on who can be given a loan at the local level, what it does is that it crushes credit availability to ordinary people. So as you're addressing debt, you must address government appetite to local borrowing, and then address wastage in government. Once all those three factors have been reduced, then you will have enough money to give out handouts. You'll have enough money to empower Youth Enterprise Fund. You'll have enough money to undertake welfare programs that can help the vulnerable in the society. But without that, I can tell you for free, lofty ideas that won't be sustainable.
Okay, interesting. So we'll definitely, this is a conversation we're having time and time again. And since right now it's all about politics of the economy, thanks to the political class, we'll definitely continue highlighting this as members of the Fourth Estate. A lot more covered in today's dailies, including how varsity admissions are set to be reformed. You can get more details in today's dailies. But as we do that, let's shift focus, gentlemen, to the scramble for Ukambani vote. It was busy in the eastern region as Raila Odinga and William Ruto pitched camp this week in lower eastern region to rally support for their presidential bid. According to political pundits, Ukambani is one of the vote-rich blocks that will provide a swing vote for the presidency in next year's general elections. Raila and Ruto forays in the region could also be causing sleepless nights for Kalonzo Musyoka, one of the principals in the One Kenya Alliance, after three governors from Ukambani endorsed ODM leaders' 2022 bid. Our senior political affairs reporter, Patrick Amimo, has the details. Take a look.
Ukambani is considered to be Kalonzo Musyoka's stronghold where he calls the shots. This week, however, witnessed a scramble for the vote-rich Ukambani block when Raila and Ruto raided Kalonzo's bedroom while Kalonzo was away in neighboring Embu to woo voters in Upper Eastern.
There's a strategy issue here for both Raila and Ruto, trying to disperse and trying to make sure that the Ukambani vote is doubtful and questionable in terms of whether it wants to go to one side or whether it can go to any.
In the last 2 elections, they voted largely for Raila because Kalonzo Musyoka was Raila's running mate. So there is a scramble because the numbers are huge. You know, 2.5 million votes is not small. And anybody and everybody will want to have a share of the pie.
2013, Raila chose Kalonzo as a running mate from Ukambani. In 2017, Raila Odinga chose Kalonzo from Ukambani, which means that Ukambani becomes a fulcrum in the fourth question about politics of Kenya.
Deputy President William Ruto has often campaigned in Lower Eastern with a section of Ukambani MPs. Raila got a boost Friday when 3 Ukambani governors agreed to support his presidential bid.
So in my own view, they are positioning and angling themselves to be appointed either cabinet secretaries or running mate. A Kamba nation is a serious constituency for anybody going for the presidency. So Kalonzo loses in that onslaught, and he's being left an orphan, he's being left destitute. He will either be outfoxed to join William Ruto or to join Raila Odinga.
Raila is using the 3 governors so that in the event that Kalonzo is not playing ball, they see if they can get the votes direct. Of course, they will make some inroads, and it weakens Kalonzo, but they will not be able to get the block vote the way Kalonzo has been delivering.
What the strategists in both camps of Raila and Ruto are doing is to go and run away with the iron sheets on the house in Ukambani, run away with the iron sheets in Western, run away with some iron sheets, if at all, in Baringo. So you're leaving the rains start beating, political rains start beating the principals. And when the rains start beating them, no politicians can survive under rain. They always look for a shelter.
8 lawmakers from Amani National Congress drummed support for One Kenya Alliance in Matunda along the Eldoret-Kitale Highway. They want the Oka principals to decide on the flag bearer and running mate before Christmas.
Hatutaki Musalia awekwe kwa parking. Hatutaki One Kenya Alliance hiyo ndio chombo ya kuweka Musalia parking indefinitely. Tunataka tujue candidate wetu mara moja, twende kazi. Sisi kama ANC tunasema we are giving One Kenya Alliance up to 25th of December. Watupatie presidential candidate ambaye ni Musalia Mudavadi, we start marketing that presidential candidate. Tukimaliza 25th of December, kama One Kenya Alliance hatujapata presidential candidate, we shall look for other friends.
Which way, Oka?
They need to bombard this country. They need to make us believe that they are the alternative that we require. Otherwise, for now, the narrative is between Raila and Ruto. And if that's the narrative and that's the only options that Kenyans have, then One Kenya is delaying in coming and telling us, wait a minute, it's not a 2-horse race. It's actually, the race is, we are the people. We are the alternative.
The race has become a race of 2 horses between William Ruto and Raila Odinga. And if Oka is not careful, come January 1st, the names of Oka will have escaped the lips of Kenyans.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
Well, interesting analysis right there. So let's get right into it. So much focus in certain parts of the region, and Ukambani now hunted or sort of expected to be a swing region come 2022. Mbai, Mheshimiwa, let me start with you. Is the ground shifting in Ukambani? Because looking at the history, 2013, 2017, this is a region that has predominantly voted in favor of a Raila Kalonzo ticket. But right now, these 2 principles are pointing in different directions. Is the ground ready for a new entrant?
Thank you, my friend. You know, one of the things I like doing, I never like lying to myself as a politician. Because if you lie, the ballot box will come to prove you wrong. Because by the end of the day, the votes will be counted. One of the things is Raila has never been voted by the Ukambani people. The Ukambani people were voting for Kalonzo and because he was working with Raila. And immediately Kalonzo disbacks or divorces with Raila, Raila loses the vote. When what Uhuru and Ruto did, they came, asked for votes in Ukambani, and what they got was theirs. Whoever voted for Uhuru was voting for Uhuru, but not for Uhuru because of Mbai or for Uhuru because of someone. But Raila got the Kambani block because of Kalonzo. So when Kalonzo moves out, Raila forgets about the Kambani block. And today he is repeating the same mistake. You know, he's going to the governors and to see if they can help him. They endorse him. You know, we were in Kitui the other day, and the word was 3 governors have endorsed Raila Odinga. For heaven's sake, we have our mothers on the ground who have never even seen Raila Odinga. Some of these governors have lost ground. How do you expect a governor who has lost ground to endorse you? Actually, the governor is fighting for his political lifeline, and you say they have endorsed you. So that approach of getting some people who have influence within a region to endorse you, we are trying to discourage that. Go direct to Manainji. You know, that other mama at home and Mama Ngilu, they are all mamas. They need to be given an opportunity to listen to Raila and evaluate. Oh, this is a good guy. Oh, this guy can do well. Oh, this guy can't do well. Then the mama makes a decision without being influenced by someone else. The other thing is we can't wish away Kalonzo influence in Ukambani. Kalonzo, as we speak, is the kingpin in Ukambani.
Okay.
And if today Kalonzo decided what Ruto has done and what Raila has done, I will take it on within 1 week. Take it from me, he will take it on. So both guys will need to do more than they've done for them to shake Kalonzo in Ukambani. Kalonzo's politics, as we stand in Ukambani, someone to even think of like a smaller fraction of votes from Ukambani, especially the presidential vote, when Kalonzo is on the ballot, has to do more. Be it Raila, be it William Ruto, they need to do more than they are doing for them to get to a point of, like I had one of our friends there saying they want to get the iron sheets. Leave alone the iron sheets. Even the nails, they've not touched. The nails which have nailed the iron sheets. Because, you know, it's like going to Luo Nyanza and saying you will get votes there. Yeah? You need to do more than just saying it, than just going there. A lot of it, you need to do it even up to the last minute. So Kalonzo, by the end of the day, has some control of the Ukambani vote. If Kalonzo today decided to go and work with Raila, take it from me, the Kamba vote will move to the Raila side.
Okay.
If Kalonzo today decided to go and work with Ruto, the Kamba vote will move to Ruto's side. If Kalonzo decided to go it alone, the Kambas will vote as a block to Kalonzo. And all these other candidates may get some small votes here and there. And the person who will suffer most, actually in this, is the person who have always been voted because of someone else. But at least William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta had tried to go down there and made friendship and understanding with common wananchi who will always vote for them, even without having a friend in between here. Because, you know, if people are voting for Ruto because of me, so when I withdrew my support from Ruto, he has lost the support on the ground.
Right.
So that's why we are encouraging Ruto to go even talk to my people. Although I can tell him, the people of Greece will vote for you because of me. I don't know whether I will be elected in the first place.
Okay.
So we have to be realistic when we are doing our politics.
So Kioko, speaking about being realistic, so Kalonzo's influence cannot be diminished in one or the other, but all the chances of the Eastern region voting as a bloc, Ukambani voting as a bloc, if Kalonzo goes it alone, he'll go with a chunk of the votes. We have the 3 governors supporting Raila Odinga, and perhaps they'll carry a couple of votes with Raila. We equally have Ruto, who's been meeting the people directly, and he'll carry some votes. What do you foresee come 2022?
I think first one must appreciate the honesty with which Mheshimiwa Mbai has talked about here. Yeah. I think that is a lot of political maturity. And you must also appreciate that in Kitui County, there were 2 MPs that were elected with Jubilee. So Mbai speaking here, including Mbai, is a Jubilee MP. He took a risk. He got his vote as an individual within Jubilee and has done good work there at home. And he's now trying it again, UDA. And he knows that the political supremo is Kalonzo. He has no beef with Kalonzo. He wants his seat. What happens up there is for these people to manage their business. So that honesty, I take my hat off, Mheshimiwa. In terms of, again, political reality, of the 3 governors who are there, 2 are outgoing. 2 are outgoing, really. One, who is Ms. Charity Ngilu, she was the one who played real politics in that meeting that happened on Friday. And if you listen to her pronouncement, she said, all these people asking for presidency, including Professor Kibwana was there, including Governor Mutua, Mudavadi, Kalonzo, she wants to bring them all together and she wants to be the chairman to unify all these people so that they can support one person who is Raila, because ideologically they seem aligned to Raila. So she was playing high-level politics. She knows her constituency, she knows the truth, that for her to get re-elected, she cannot antagonize Kalonzo. These other 2 governors, because they're on their way out, they can commit political suicide without care for any other political career. So the politics in Cumberland, the net loser, these votes that people normally tout of Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga having 7 million supporters, in those 7 million supporters because of the votes, there is 1.5 million that came from Kalonzo Musyoka. There is about 500 or another 800,000 that came from Mudavadi. So if you remove this 1.5 million, this 1.5 billion from the politics, Raila starts as a limping dog in this mathematics. Now, that is the problem that Raila faces. And Raila, being the true politician, when he went into that meeting, when he was called to speak, the first thing he said, he brings greetings of Kalonzo Musyoka.
That was important, yeah?
Yeah, it was very important for him to acknowledge that I agree we are meeting here, but I also have blessings of Kalonzo Musyoka to come and conduct this meeting. Okay. He knows what is the political consequences of being antagonistic to Mheshimiwa Kalonzo. But net reality, if they all decide to go into a poll, I can tell you for clear, Kalonzo Musyoka will get majority of the Kamba votes. It might be 60%, it might be 70%. It might not make him a president because Kambas alone cannot make him a president. The next person who might get votes might be Ruto. Why? Because in the last election of 2017, they only got 5% or 6% of Kamba votes. If they move the needle from 6% to 15%, that means it's a net gain to UDA.
And where does that leave Raila in the
Raila will suffer because of a dent. He'll get his votes, maybe 10%. But again, the thing is, he'll have moved from the 100% that he got in 2017 to about 10%. He is the net loser in the mathematics of Kamba politics by ignoring Kalonzo, by appearing to show Kalonzo that I can flex my own muscle. I can meet your Kamba governors alone. I can negotiate a political deal with the Kamba governors outside of you. Now, here's the net loser. Is there a neater way of going about it? I believe there is a neater way of going about it. Ideologically, Kalonzo's thinking is closer to Raila than to Ruto, ideologically. It makes sense to sell Raila candidature to Kambas than to sell it to Ruto. But again, politics is the art of the possible. Finally, when the chips will be put down, Kalonzo will want to look, where will the Kamba community be come 2022? He cannot afford to take the Kamba community. He cannot afford another 5 years of being outside power. He cannot afford to ensure another, now cumulatively with 15 years, of the Kamba community not being at the center of decision making. That is the dilemma he must carry. That is the problem he must resolve, be it in Oka, be it with Raila, be it with Ruto. He must resolve that problem.
Now, Dede, speaking of Oka, will the center hold from where you sit? There's so much pressure from within and without, and we've had some of the principles in terms of double speak. We're talking about Kalonzo Musyoka. Just recently, he sort of hinted to being open to discuss working with Ruto, and then later on we heard of him recanting that statement. What say you about One Kenya Alliance and the prospects, especially in the eastern part of the country?
Thank you, thank you. I think there is something we need to have clarity on here. Like Mheshimiwa here said earlier, Raila has never gotten votes in Cumberland. All the votes he got was simply because Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka was his running mate. But there is also part of the history that we are not supposed to delete, that there was a time in Cumberland, again, when Raila was running in 2007, when Kalonzo stood openly and said, we need to teach our sister, Honorable Charity Ngilu, a lesson. If any of you would want to remember that, you would remember. And at the same time, Ngilu still came back to Parliament with, I think, 2 other MPs in her ticket, party ticket. So that, again, tells that somebody like Ngilu next to Honorable Raila would be stronger, not stronger enough to beat Kalonzo, but stronger enough to bring something on the table, even however little it is. And the same scenario switched positions in 2013 when Honorable Ngilu went to join Uhuru and Ruto, and Kalonzo joined Raila. Ngilu did not afford to bring any member of parliament with her ticket, her party. So that tells that somehow the source of power somewhere was Raila Odinga, in a way, because when Ngilu was with her, she was warned, and Kalonzo was like, we are going to teach my sister a lesson, and she still came back to parliament with her party and 2 other members of parliament. And when they switched positions, Kalonzo was able to beat her hands down with no member of parliament in her party. So that tells me something, okay, if I was to analyze. And to move away from that to your question now, whether Oka will hold, I think there are some things, again, we must look at. Honorable Gideon Moi has not played opposition politics in his life. I don't know if he is going to maintain this pace up to the end, but I think something tells me that he has a very cordial relationship with the president, and somehow he might want to discuss things. He might want to negotiate again once more. As to Honorable Musalia, there is so much heat behind him to run up to the ballot, but many people have said, many analysts have said that this is the same situation repeating itself like he did in 2013 when the likes of Honorable Halwale pushed him to go to the ballot, and then they get their positions and they don't care what happens to you after that. So the question Honorable Musalia would want to ask himself at this point in time is he better off as ANC leader to the ballot and then get some votes that he can get, and then it ends there? Or he is better off with the rest of the team working together? Okay. So this, again, is antagonizing the One Kenya Alliance, because the team from the other side of the country, the West, especially the ANC, are clearly thinking that One Kenya Alliance has nothing to negotiate. This thing belongs to Musalia. And I think the team behind Honorable Kalonzo started like that, but lately I can see they are toning down in making it look like there is no negotiation here. One Kenya Alliance will be led by Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. All right, all right. So finally, I think there is a possibility of them also running together as they are up to the ballot. And there is also a smaller chance that some of them might move away to discuss a larger coalition with these other 2 horses.
Okay, well noted. As we finalize in briefly 1 minute, you're open to working with Kalonzo Musyoka in the UDA camp, yeah?
You know, this is a hawker thing. Let's be realistic, and I would always want to be realistic. because I represent the people on the ground. Gideon Moi, the way my friend Odede said, cannot afford to be in the opposition. And one of the sure ways of not being in the opposition is sticking with Uhuru. And there is already a deal between Uhuru and Gideon Moi that Gideon Moi should be the deputy to Raila Odinga. So it's just a matter of time before Gideon Moi moved from Hoka to join Raila. And that because he has to be either the deputy president or the president. How Uhuru was fished from Nanyuki in the farms by Moi to come and become a presidential candidate is the same thing that Uhuru will get Moi, even though we think he can deliver, to be either a presidential candidate or a deputy president for preparation to be a future president.
All right.
Now the thing is left between the other two guys.
Okay.
The challenge these guys have is, you know, they need political value. Mudavadi can't afford to lose political value. And Kalonzo can't afford to lose political value because it's what keeps them there. Why would the president get his fall and call Kalonzo without not calling Nimrod or calling Kyoko? Because Kalonzo adds some political value. So he has to play it smart so that he doesn't lose political value. And the only option Kalonzo has in all this is going out and running directly, running for the presidency. Because Kalonzo now cannot go back to Ukambani and tell people about Raila. That cannot happen. And as I know Kalonzo, it may be difficult for him, not unless pushed and maybe, you know, sometimes God opens someone's eyes. Not unless God comes down and opens Kalonzo's eyes to see it and know that the presidency is going to Ruto, so that he can go there and form a government.
Okay.
Mudavadi, we will do the same thing like Kalonzo.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Nimrod, may allow me to cut you short due to interest of time. We'll have to leave that conversation right there, but it's all speculation right here. Let's see what December holds, because according to One Kenya Alliance, by December 25th, Azimio la Umoja, that's the ODM Jubilee camp, will have the way forward by, I think, December 9th during that particular meeting that has been touted. Thank you so much for your time. Mesha Kodede, chairperson of the Volunteer Involving Organizations. Joseph Kyoko, who's a regular right here, political analyst. It's always a pleasure to have your input. And our guest this Monday, Nimrod Mbai, Kitui East Member of Parliament. We equally appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the deliberations. And that's what you can expect, at least a hint of what you can expect in today's dailies. But since we're speaking about governance matters and politics and governance go hand in hand, why not have a conversation with Kenyans